Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. So how's everyone doing?
Well,
Okay.
I read the stuff.
You can be honest, right? That's actually the whole purpose of our discussion today, right?
Yeah.
Before we start, so I hit broadcast, right? And then that was,
Yeah.
and then afterwards it'll give me a link or something.
Yeah, you'll hit stop and
Yeah, it'll save it.
yeah.
It'll save it, and
Okay.
actually that screen, I think there's a number of ways to do the link, but you know, that last screen you're at, you can just, you know, copy the URL and
Yeah.
do a copy and just paste it into an email or wherever you plan to send it.
Okay.
So, okay, good. All right, well, let's just jump right into it. So, did anybody notice so did you pull up the questions, Sarah?
Yeah, so I had some confusion. I was wondering if the questions were, I have like two sets of questions and I'm wondering which ones they are we're gonna do.
Actually, you're kind of off the hook, right? Since I'm joined the meeting, I facilitate, so you don't have to worry about them. But actually, this is really for the whole group. But I don't know if you notice, those that were doing their own meetings without me joining them, they noticed that the questions are the same for the agenda for the HOA meeting as they are for the group discussion, the discussion that you have to post. So I don't know about you guys, but I found that kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Because last week we had a case study, right? And you did your case study. And this week there's no case study, but you have to answer the questions and post them, right? And so I don't know if I found that confusing because it's, you know, it's kind of, you kind of get into a rhythm, right, for the class, and then, you know, it kind of changes. So I don't know if you guys experienced that. Some others that I've talked to, you know, that was confusing. So,
yeah, it was kind of confusing a little bit.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to just stick with my inside voice when it comes to these things, but that we have no control over. So, anyways, so from your personal experience, what have been key behaviors in effective teams? And since there's just 3 of us or 4 of us, y'all get to participate a lot.
Okay, I'd like to make an editorial before I start.
Sure.
Defend myself. The thing that was interesting, I'm making an excuse for myself right now, is usually we read the case and we do the write-up and then we have our meeting. So it's nice because we're always prepared, but I have to admit that I did the reading a couple of days ago, but I haven't done the assignment. So I'm just saying that's not going to be very good tonight.
Okay. Well,
that's my excuse.
Isn't the assignment isn't due till Monday, right?
It's not, but
or it's not due till
the 9th. Yeah. And that kind of threw me off because I usually do the assignment like right after I read. So
well, yeah, I mean, I found that confusing too, because typically you would have done that, it would have been due Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, it's, again, I'm just going to use my inside voice on these matters.
So a quick question before like we really get started. On the What Google Learned activity that's due on Monday, we all need to respond to that, or just the group leader?
Yes, you do.
Okay, and did we all need to respond to that case study activity on lesson 2 as well? Or just the group leader? Or I mean lesson.
I like to choose to move on from lesson 2. Honestly, I can't remember.
Because I think our group just thought that only the group leader needed to post in the activity board, and
yeah. So I think what was confusing, and again, it just goes back to what we were saying before. It can be confusing because Yes, before you would just have to post the video link, right, to the discussion board.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, you actually have to post. You have to post to the, I think it's called the group activity. Your answers to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to these 5 questions. That makes sense?
We just have one set of questions to answer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So actually, let me do this. I'm gonna share my screen. Do you guys mind?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have some of my business stuff up here, so bear with me. Oh my goodness. Actually, hold on. Let me just do something here. I can't, hold on. Discussion. I do this. Share application. Huh. That's not showing that. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Okay. Let's close that. Let's close that. Let's close that. Let's close.
Oops. He closed one too many things.
Uh-oh. So did you guys understand my question, how like last week it was only the group leader that had to post in the thing, and then this week it's us? And I was wondering if it really was like everyone that had to post in that discussion, or was it just, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it's the reason why I'm kind of confused is because normally it seems like, if I remember correctly, we have a set of questions, like maybe 1 or 2 prompts that we talk on in our discussion board. But then as a group, we're just submitting these answers. Normally, I think the group leader would well, I don't know. I'm confused. Sorry. I thought I was on track, but I'm not. So apparently I'm as confused as you are.
No.
Hello, Brother Castillo. You made it.
Are you guys okay? This might take me a little while, but it's probably important that I show this to you guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just bear with me.
Did you work late? Or?
No, I have. Before I got to the place, but I was like right there.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to get home.
Oh, yeah.
But I followed the signs.
Oh my
All of a
gosh.
sudden, so I knew exactly what it was. Everything was good. And all of a sudden, driving was like, wait.
Let's see.
Oh, did you?
I was following the signs and everything, and I don't know if it.
Where did you line up?
Yeah, I ended up in the Harupa.
Oh,
So I'm thinking either I didn't go far enough on the freeway,
maybe.
but nothing looked familiar. None of the signs looked familiar. And before that, I was reading all the signs, it's the riverbed. So I was like, must have just missed something. I got off at the next exit and just found a high school that would put a Patriot, and I just like all the Main Street. And then it got me to Harupa, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just turn right on Harupa. And then I found Van Buren.
You didn't have a charger.
My phone died. The charger's broken.
That's it.
Shorted out the car radio.
Oh, that's good. Did you tell that?
No.
Oh, it just happened?
Yeah, I was gonna turn my phone, but it was broken, and I tried fiddling with it and short out the radio.
Oh, that's terrible. Then you need to carry one of those charger packs with you.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, well, I'll take that one from Dad. I have one in my car. It's the nice one. So you'll have to get that and put it in the car.
They're getting so they've been married before we do like something new full time school.
Oh,
I left at like 4 o'clock.
gosh, thank goodness at least you made it home.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, hon.
All right, are you guys there?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear us? Technology, you love it or sometimes you hate it?
Oh my gosh.
All right. All right, are you guys there?
Yes, we
Yes.
are.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Okay, let me try this again. Yes. Okay, so can you see my iLearn screen?
Yes.
Okay. It shouldn't be so hard. All right, so I go into discussions. I'm going into discussions. And if I go down to lesson 4, okay. So do you see where it says what I learned? Google what I learned activity.
Right.
Actually, let me do this. If I went back up to, let's see, who had the question about lesson 3?
Me. That was me.
Yeah. So the case studies. So if we look here, so the case study, we go into instructions.
Oh my gosh. So sorry. So sorry.
So,
Sorry.
okay, so it looks like in lesson 2, you actually did have to, post, you have to post questions. And you see people posted questions. So does that answer your question? I think that was your question, Sarah.
So when it's on the discussion board, that means everyone has to post. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is for this one you did.
For lesson 3?
Yeah.
Okay, I think our group misunderstood.
So for lesson 3, so lesson 3, is it the case study activity?
Yeah,
Is it what
right?
you're talking about? Okay, so let's see. What does the instruction say? Yeah. Okay, so it's case. So these were the questions that were discussed in your HOA meeting,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that again? You guys correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I'm reading here.
Yeah.
So for the case study, you read, and yes, we will post a link to the prior HOA on discussion or 3. So for this one, these are the questions that should have been discussed in your HOA meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you post the link. So just like, the link to your recording would have been posted here. And then you also gave who's going to be the group leader.
Okay, and so only the group leader had to post then. Is that what you're saying?
For week 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you go to, so you go to our current week, what Google Learned activities. So if we go to the instructions,
So what Google Learned activity,
Yeah, it's not saying anything about us commenting, just saying the group leader posting the link though.
Yeah.
yeah.
it's, so, oh boy, I'm pretty sure it does say you have to somewhere, because I had that same question. So yeah, it doesn't say it here.
No, it must be in your red. Is it in the study?
So I think it is. Yeah. If you go to lesson, go to. Yeah, the short answer is I had the same question. Oh, I'm there already. But let's see.
Oh, that's reading.
I think this is it. Okay, so do you guys see where I'm at?
Yeah.
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 The table
Load your
of contents,
responses.
actually, let me just go back, because so you see, here's our list, right, of everything we had to. And again, my screen might be a little different because I'm in, but I think everyone should have.
Yeah.
And see, I can see how because here.
You post
Here is
that
where
in lesson 5, right?
That's here is where I was just at. Do you remember where I was just at in the discussion?
Yeah.
I think I was here. But then, and maybe one of you, just to be sure, go in the contents and check. It's this one right here. So if you click on this one tells you, so read the article.
Right.
Take the self-assessment. Also point right down your answer to the following questions. And so these are essentially the same questions, which confused me because these are the same questions for our Hangout meeting, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And then you see here it says upload your responses to
Yes.
above to the what Google Learned activity, right? So if we go back there,
And it says LO5. So we posted in lesson 5.
So, okay, but I did that and then it said to base your comments are based on the instructions, and it gave the link to the instructions. And so when I click those, it sent me back to the group, all students, what Google Learned activity.
Yeah.
Where we post our HOA link. And that's why I'm confused, because like one of them is saying to comment, to answer the questions and then write comments. But then when you click the instructions on the actual activity, it sends us back to the group Hangout page.
So it's making a circle and it's not allowing you to do it.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me, I think, in lesson 2 or 3. I can't remember, but I kept going around in a circle and I could never get to it.
Yeah, that's what I did too, because I was like, well, this one says to go here. And then I read the instructions just to make sure I had all the questions right. And then it sent me to the all page or all students have your group leader post in here.
Go here, so you can't go here then? You can't go to this, what Google Learned activity?
So I can, but once I do that, I go like, before you comment, yeah, it says the lesson 4, what Google Learned, the link at the top for instructions. Once you click that, it sends you back to the page where it explains the group Hangout. It doesn't say that we have to individually respond.
Right. But yeah, okay, I can see that. But you can see where, because I mean, you can see a lot of people have
Mhm.
posted it here, and that's because of these instructions.
Yeah.
So, and again, we can take as much time as you want talking about this, but again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So you guys tell me, how do you want to proceed with all of this?
Yeah, well, I mean,
guess just to clarify, so all of us are going to post on lesson 4 discussion board, correct?
Yes, that's what I would do. So I would just go back to,
And then on lesson 3, only the group leader had to post, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what about for lesson 5? Will we all have to post?
That's what it
Honestly,
looks
I haven't gotten that far. So I've just
Okay.
trying to been focusing on lesson 4. I
We
can,
do need to post. It'll be in the reading
I'm probably not
instructions.
going to get to it till tomorrow, but if you don't mind waiting till then, I can, or if you want to go ahead and read it yourself, I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
So I guess that's what I'm saying. It's somewhat confusing.
So then afterwards, where do I post the link to this discussion?
Let's see.
Is it that same discussion board?
I don't know. What do the instructions say? Have you looked at that yet?
Yeah, so I mean, my understanding was I just posted on the discussion board, but then I think you mentioned emailing too.
When I said emailing, I meant emailing it to the group, just so they had access to it. But I guess, so I'm sorry. What'd you say your question? Your question was about the video.
Yeah, so this link that we did our thing, where would I post that? Our discussion, what discussion board would I post that in?
I don't know. What are the I'm just reading the instructions.
Oh, okay.
So
From what I'm reading, the same discussion board is the one we all post in, like to answer the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, are you guys still in my iLearn?
Yeah.
Can you still see it?
no.
Oh, oops, sorry. Hold on. I think I lost you guys. Hold on. Let me. So I am at here. Here's the instructions. So here are the group leaders and access the agenda. Should have done that once everyone has joined nation. Complete, stop recording, and obtain the YouTube link of your recorder. Post the link to this discussion board. So then that would be this right here. I'm sorry, I can't remember who asked that question.
It was Sarah.
Was that you, Sarah, that asked that question?
I think so.
Yeah, it was me.
Okay. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you would go in here. And you see like group 6, that's what they did. They put their link there. Group 10.
Okay.
Okay. Clear as mud?
Clear as mud.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
You guys have any other questions?
No, I think for now I'm good. Can you guys see me, or is my video gone?
Your video's gone.
Yeah.
If I click out of this, will it stop broadcasting and then you have to start all the way over?
Yeah, because
Possibly. Yeah.
you're the leader for it.
Yeah.
All right, well,
We can hear you. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Should we begin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So again, it's 7:52. You know, I'm fine time-wise. You guys tell me. I don't mind, but again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Yeah.
Well, it's like almost 10 o'clock here, so I can do like another 15 minutes or so, but
Okay, fair enough. I understand. All right, so from your personal experience, what have been key behaviors in effective teams?
mine is just like it's just open communication instead of letting something bother you or letting it eat away at you. The best thing is to, if there's a problem, confront it and just have an open relationship with your other employees. Otherwise, things don't get fixed and people get resentful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
I think also being like very honest and open as well, as far as things that are bothering you about it. I think, yeah, same as open communication, just really talking about things, being adult, right. I think.
Yeah,
right.
And with that is being respectful of one another's opinions. I mean, it's just like, just respect people. It's not that hard,
Yeah.
It's a simple concept, but it's difficult to put into place, which is interesting. So that's been my experience. I usually work at really awesome companies with awesome people, but the company I work at right now is not so easy. So it's interesting reading about this article and Speed of Trust, because you would think that people could just be that way, but I think egos get in the way and defense mechanisms start interjecting themselves. And at our company, it's basically nobody wants to be the target. So nobody wants to ever make a wrong answer. And if I'm jumping, let me know, but it talked about psychological safety, which I thought was extremely important. And it was amazing to read that, because probably the big difference between all of these companies is there is no safe zone in the meetings. And that squashes talent and it squashes growth. If you say something wrong, then you're going to be targeted and humiliated. So you just kind of withdraw. Now, some of the people that have been there a long time and have more control, they continue on and can be, boisterous. But so I thought the psychological safety, how that was so important to, and I think that comes with what Sarah and Olivia were saying, was just to be respectful, to allow everybody to talk and encourage everyone to talk and have the same amount of time. And you have so much more growth and greater ideas come out of that meeting.
No, I agree. Those are all really good comments. And, I'd like to expound on kind of your last comments there, Michelle, but why is it so difficult? Because I've worked at a number of places, been on a number of teams, and it just ceases to amaze me that it seems so logical that, yeah, let's be open, let's be able to talk to each other or disagree with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so hard. I mean, that's been it's easier said than done, right?
Right.
Michelle mentioned you said there's people, I don't know if it's your current or last organization, that they've just been there a while and they're just doing their own thing, or just doing the opposite of psychological safety. Did I understand you?
Yeah, there's like it's pretty unbalanced. There's some balanced people who pretty much got it right, And then there's other people that are definitely experienced at what they do. They've been there a long time. So there's longevity in the company. And that's kind of like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't take accountability. And it's like in one of the readings, it was just talking about being able just to get together and have just a normal meeting where, like, you're not going to be right or you're not going to be wrong. It's just ideas or thoughts, and that it's not that way. It's just very mistake oriented, and no one is allowed to make a mistake. And if you do, there's something certainly wrong with you. You must not be intelligent if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
And I loved it because in one of the readings it says, you know, that's how you become.
Well, let me ask you this though. Some of these leaders maybe that aren't, the type of leaders like in the Speed of Trust, right? They're the opposite. Or
Right.
if you've done the readings or some of the readings, Covey will give you the opposite behavior, right, of what you should be doing.
Right.
But why do you think, let me ask you this. Some of these leaders that you've dealt with, I bet you they're pretty smart or intelligent, right?
I would say so. I mean, to me, to be able to produce a company, multi-million-dollar company, and have a staff of 23 people, he's done something right. So there's a definite intelligence and intuitiveness about him.
And so, my question is, because that's been my experience. I mean, I've known a number of very intelligent leaders, but when it came to leadership or being an effective leader, as we've been talking about in this class,
Mm-hmm.
they really missed the mark. I mean, but why do you think that is? And Sarah, Olivia, you guys can chime in. Why do you think seemingly smart people, and you even saw this in the case, right? In their analysis, they said it wasn't a question of who, right? Because they looked at smart team, intelligent people. Didn't matter whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. And we'll get to that. They basically found that there's certain norms or behaviors that if you did it, then your team was more effective. But why do you think, as easy as it sounds, it's just so many leaders just don't do it?
Don't do what? Aren't good.
You don't practice psychological safety, or they don't, like you said, they don't openly communicate. They don't, they create an atmosphere of fear, right? I think that's what I heard.
Yeah,
Show, right?
I think with like more power definitely comes more of that like psychological, like, what am I trying to think of? Like they love the power, so they get like hungry about it, And I think the smarter you get, the more you're able to kind of manipulate situations and people, and you understand how to do that, and you kind of, I don't know, it's easier to manipulate them into doing what you want because you have the power, you have all control. And so I think sometimes I've had several managers and owners of companies who really they just take advantage of that power, and they're not very psychologically like just they don't treat their employees well. They don't care.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a great point.
I think their pride gets in the way a lot too, because like Sarah's saying, they know they're smart, and so they think they know what's best for the group and what's best for the company, and so it's like, well, I'm in charge, you're not, so why should I even listen to what you have to say if it doesn't agree with what I think?
Right.
Their own pride and opinions get in the way.
Right. Well, and that's a great point, Olivia. And so 2 thoughts on that. You guys tell me what you think. Would you? I mean, it sounds like an obvious question. Would you work harder for someone that created a safe environment? Would you work harder? Would you enjoy work more, possibly, versus one that was more authoritarian or more, like you were saying, maybe their ego's getting in the way and they're doing this or that because I said so?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, I would work hard no matter what, because there's a challenge. to
Right.
that I will overcome that and succeed. But I've had the other where it's much more effective and you do much better in the positive, safe zone.
Yeah.
You know, I had another boss that was just amazing, and the growth was exponential in what I could accomplish and do. And it kind of reminds me of like reading the scriptures. The more you read, the more you know, and it just starts piling on to where it's like, wow, everything is like, there's nothing I can't do.
Yeah.
Opposed to the environment here, you still might have some success, but it's nothing like what you could have, which reminds me of the group where they can get together and collaborate and wind up having much better results than the highly intelligent, organized, structured people.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think it goes to, like, you would work hard either way, but if you have a safe environment, you're more willing to be open to new ideas. Or like Michelle was saying, you're willing to grow, but it's like if you have the strict leader, you're going to work hard, but you're only going to work to what he wants.
Yeah.
So it's like regardless of what you think, you're only going to do what he wants because you're scared of what he's going to do if you even suggest something different.
Yeah. You know, that's a great point. And I think, because I've kind of looked into this a lot, and I think a lot of it, just from a historical perspective, you know, if you think about like the industrial age, right? I mean, you know, we were an agrarian society, we became an industrial society, right? So factories, business, quote unquote, got started, and, you know, we tied to the war. And so you've probably heard the term command and control. I think since the industrial age, it's kind of been this command and control where you have this hierarchy, right? A leader, a team, and, you know, it's kind of like, okay, you do this, this, and that.
Mhm.
So that, I think that's kind of the history, and it's just kind of been there for a while. But, you know, then, you know, books like The Speed of Trust come out, and all those similar ilk or, you know, types of books come out and say, hey, gotta be a better way. And there's so many studies that show that, you know, if you just treat people decently, they're going to be more satisfied. And, you know, it goes back to, wow, that sounds so simple. But, you know, Gallup did a poll about 2 years ago, and you've heard the saying, you know, employees don't leave companies, they leave their bosses, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they did a survey, and unfortunately only 40% of employees feel engaged at work. 60% have left because of a bad boss. And that kind of shows you what the, you know, what the work environment is. So, well, great. Well, great discussion. Any other, you know, I'm going to shift gears to another question. Any other discussion on this topic? We're talking about psychological safety. All right. So let's go to the question about how does sharing personal experience to being vulnerable influence team dynamics? I think the Sakaguchi example from the article was, you know, a very, you know, was a very good example of, you know, what happens when you make yourself vulnerable, right, or open up.
Mm-hmm.
How does that influence team dynamics?
So, oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just thinking.
Well, there's a couple of thoughts. First of all, it kind of puts what makes you vulnerable. When you're a leader, it makes you vulnerable, so maybe you appear more human and on the same playing ground or field as your team. Again, there's vulnerability so that you feel kind of equal. Compassionate brings compassion and kindness out in a person. And to me, whenever there's common ground, then there's unity, and there's an ability to start building at that point.
Okay, good.
For I think how Michelle was saying, like, it makes you seem more human. I feel like so often we just see like managers or other employees as just some people we work with. Like, we don't even think about their personal struggles or their personal life. It's just kind of like, oh, we work with them, like, that's it.
Mhm.
And it's really hard if you see them that way to even think that there's something going on in their life that's making them act that way. And so I think being vulnerable is like a huge help, because it's like, you see, like Michelle was saying, you see them as human, you see them as people that have struggles just like you do, and maybe
Yeah.
they're going through more than you're going through, and they need your help or something.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I am also like the example that they give, that the guy who he told his group that he had cancer, because I thought that was super interesting. And then there's a quote that I liked. Someone says, "I think until the offset, I had separated things in my head into work life and life. But the thing is, my work is my life. I spend the majority of my time working. Most of my friends I know through work. If I can't be open and honest about work, then I'm not really living, am I?"
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty like accurate and hits
Mhm.
the nail on the head, you know?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. In fact, I'll just share a story. I was at a workshop a couple weeks ago, and we're having a similar discussion. It was a leadership workshop. We had to talk about our values, and obviously, we're in a church environment, so I think we're very clear on what our values are, what we believe in. Well, one of the participants, we were having this discussion, and we wrote all these values down, and we had to pick like our top 5. And then this one participant raised his hand and said, I've got my work values, and then I've got my home values. And, that kind of just struck me as odd. But it was interesting. On the second day or later on in the workshop, he just he had a moment of vulnerability and said, that really made me think, because those should be the same. They should be the same. And, he kind of had this aha moment that, he kind of stopped short of saying, well, I kind of have to reevaluate my life, because I've kind of split it up. And, but I think, let's see, Sarah, you read this, right? I'm looking at this last night. If I can't be open and honest at work, then I'm not really living, am I? And so I think that's the same thing, right? Where, if we try to be two different people, that's just not sustainable. So anyways, I think that's a great point, that, it does come down to, am I being true to myself? So good comments. Anything else on about being vulnerable?
I don't think so.
Okay. Olivia, you okay? I know you're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, it's like past 10 o'clock here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good though.
Okay, well, let's just go to the last question then. And what can you do as an individual to initiate effective team behavior? And again, whether it's this team, because you guys are a team, obviously, right, for the next 9 weeks, or at your work, or sure, we all belong to different teams, right? At home with your families, whatever your current family looks like, given your situation. So what can you do as an individual to initiate effective team behavior?
Well, I think just like when we first got started, I kind of tried to start a discussion like, where's everyone living at? Like, what, like, what about you? Like, what are you doing? Where do you study? Kind of thing. Like, it helps me to really connect ideas with someone when I know their background and I know what they're kind of going through, kind of thing, And so for me, that was a big help. And yeah, just continuing doing that and making sure that everyone's okay. And like, with Ariana's son, that's real life for her. And we need to make sure that she's okay. And, just, I think keeping up with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, great points. And I have to tell I think this is the 6th group I've met with, but I've really seen it. And you know, in some of the other groups, there have been sick children, or, you know, we had someone that their mom has cancer.
Oh, God.
And so I've just been amazed that even though it's a virtual group, everyone has shown a lot of love and concern, you know, for their fellow students. So I commend everyone for doing that. It's just amazing to me. And, you know, comments like you just made, Sarah, just reinforce that. But it's also amazing because, you know, we're virtual, right? We're not in the same classroom, but it's the beauty of technology. It's like we're all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great comment. So what's some other things?
I think
that you can
refraining from judgment. Like that's the biggest thing is like just let everybody, you know, give their opinions and give their ideas and show support for them, and, you know, let them know that you appreciate what they said and you respect their opinion, but make sure not to judge them, because then people stop sharing their opinion and people stop growing and learning. So just make sure everybody feels appreciated.
That's easy to do, right? Refraining from judgment.
That's what they say.
So I guess we don't maybe always refrain, but we control what we think, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I really don't have much to add to that. Everything that you guys have said is basically what I think as well. As far as just, for me, it's always just putting into action the things that I read and learn this particular class, but just always maintaining the values and implementing them where I can, no matter what someone else does. I figure sooner or later that's going to rub off, or there's going to be a moment where someone notices that there's something different and it's positive, so it feels better, and then hopefully they just kind of gravitate to that after a while.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's good. You know, a great comment, Michelle. And, you know, Olivia, I was just thinking of, you know, the Elder Covey, the one that wrote 7 Habits. You know, he has this saying about judgment. I think it applies to judgment, but he says, you know, you need to listen to understand and not to reply. And I know I've been guilty of, how many of you have been in a discussion and someone's talking and you're not really listening, you're just planning what you're going to say next or how you're going to defend your position. And I know I've been guilty of that. When really you have to listen just to, well, what are they saying? What are they trying to say? And just trying to understand them. And at least for me, I know it's almost a bad habit that I can almost unconsciously or subconsciously do it without thinking, and I didn't even hear, you know, so anyway, I've always liked that quote from him, because it does take a lot of effort, you know, to understand or to not judge. I mean, at least it does for me. I'll be honest. That's my moment of.
Yeah.
That was something big on my mission that my mission president focused on, was like really listening to people, because as missionaries you can kind of get into the mode like, all right, what's the next section of the lesson 2 that I'm gonna teach, you know, and you just don't listen to them, or even you don't listen to their nonverbal cues that people have, you know, if they're sad, like how is their posture, those kinds of things, you know. And so that was important, and I think I'm a lot better at that now after my mission, just like really trying to listen to people and like listening to their body as well, you know.
That's excellent.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm an old person and I'm still learning.
The older you get, the less you know, right?
Oh, you know, that is so true. And, you know, there's this saying, the best leaders are the best learners. And so you're always learning, right? I mean, even beyond the classroom. And that's true, Michelle. The older I get, the less I feel I know. Makes you humble. It keeps you humble, doesn't it?
It does. Keeps you learning, and like Sarah said, is to listen to other people. It keeps you
absolutely
unabsorbed.
Well, any other thoughts? Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Any other thoughts on anything on the case, anything, or maybe something we didn't discuss that you'd like to bring up?
No, I think I was just surprised as far as like the patterns, and we kind of already touched base on that, is that as I was reading the different sets of groups of people that they put together, that I would have thought the structured ones would have been so much more
Effective.
yeah, effective, yeah, or results driven than the other one. And so that was really surprising to see.
Talking about how they just had a whole bunch of different patterns. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and like they put together more people that were more similar, people that had a higher intelligence, people that had more structure. They didn't talk over each other. They, you know, this and that. And then the other team was just so loose, and they would talk over each other. But with that, they were still considerate and kind and thoughtful and respectful, that everybody still got the same amount of time to speak. And I just thought that was an interesting insight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you guys tell me what you think. I've just found that fascinating, because here's Google, right? Yeah. Probably the most analytical or most data-driven company that there is, right? Yeah. I mean, they measured, if you remember, how many times people go to lunch with the same people.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they were so data-driven. You know, that's their brand. But it's just amazing to me that through all their analysis, they found that, look, it doesn't matter how smart or your personality, it came down to behaviors, which to me is encouraging, right? Because behaviors you can control, right?
Right.
No matter who you are, you can be nice, you can be respectful.
Yeah.
And they found that. And you know what? That's what makes effective teams. Don't you find that amazing? That just something as simple as that, and and if you think about it, I mean, how does that apply from a gospel perspective? I mean, think about it.
Right in alignment.
What we believe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, it really is. You know, you could argue that way. You know, these are things we learn on Sunday, well, every day, but I mean, these are things we learn at church, right?
Right.
So, you know, another affirmation, right? That the church is truth.
Right, exactly. It always comes to be that.
Yeah. Yes, it does. So on that note, before we close, questions about anything? Thank you, Sarah, and everyone for the feedback. Believe me, it's, you know.
It's been a challenge for you too.
Oh.
Well, you're doing great.
What?
Well, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's just.
We love you.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's, you guys, you know, luckily, I think you guys know I've started my own business, so I'm pretty flexible. I mean, you know, like when I was grading the papers, I got up at 6 and I think I got done at 1. And so you know, I'm not tied, maybe like some others, but it's frustrating because I'd rather spend time doing this than trying to figure out, well, why does iLearn do this or that? And again, I won't get into it, but I do want to ask, is there anything else I can help you or the class with? So for example, one of the other students in our HOA group, you know, she said, well, can you just do like a summary at the beginning of the week of, you know, everything that's due, you know? And so, you know, I've tried to do that a little bit, but again, you know, I'm open. So I just want to give you guys a chance. Is there anything along those lines that you guys can think would help you or help the group or help the class?
I think one deadline would be great.
Yeah.
My finance, it has one day everything is due, and then it's kind of nice because you know you have it due, so you're allowed to monitor how you're going to do it to meet it. So it still keeps you on track, but it's so hard when you have a couple classes and you're working all day. And, you know, with the glitches, which is no one's fault, it just, you know, things will work out fine. But it would be so nice if we just had one due date. Is that at all possible, or is that?
You know, that's a great question. And I'm not one to make excuses, but you know, the short answer is no, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's nothing I can control. I wish I could.
Yeah.
But it's just like, so somebody asked, why can't, so like with the reading discussions, for example, if you notice, once we had the group set up, if you post something there, only those within the group are going to be able to reply.
Right.
You guys know that?
Right.
Do those.
Mhm.
And so somebody asked me, well, why can't we just have everybody post to, you know, be able to see everyone's? And, you know, unfortunately, that's something that the department has set up. And I mean, I have no control over that.
Right.
In that case, I actually think it's a good idea, because just like you're having this discussion now, I know you're missing a few people. I think there's value in like having 5 or 6 people and having a discussion
Right.
versus having 46 people, you know, anyways. But my point is, you know, there's some things we can control. There's some things we can't. Obviously, that's one
Right. Okay.
I can't control. But let me just show, if I can, we'll end on this. If I can just show you guys one thing. Maybe you know this already, but I know I refer to this all the time because, and I'm old school. You guys should see you guys should see all the hard copies I have printed out. Anyway, let me show. Okay. Can you guys see this schedule?
Right.
Have you guys ever looked at this page?
Yes.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I think the short answer, Michelle, is obviously there's, you know, we have 2 big due dates, right?
Yeah.
Midweek, which is Tuesday, 11:59 Mountain Time, and beginning of next week, which is 8 a.m. Now, I've had a number of people say, well, why is it then? Because look, none of us do homework on Sunday. Why isn't it Saturday? And believe me, I get it. That's out of my circle of influence.
Yeah.
But anyways, and so, you know, like here we're in lesson 4, right? So here we see everything that's due. And then obviously there's a link. I don't know, for me, and again, it's the same for me, even as the instructor, right? I need to know when things are due and when I have to, you know, look at things, grade things, and what have you. So, you know, this is, you know, this is what I found helpful. I don't know. Does anybody else have any, you know, that they
Yeah.
find helpful?
A lot of times I'll go to the calendar, and that kind of helps me when I start getting confused at what's due and such. But that's a good one too, and it has links in it, so maybe that's a better way to go.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, thank you, everyone, especially, well, everyone, especially you, Olivia. Now, where back east are you at?
I'm in Virginia.
Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we had someone else from Virginia, but I think she dropped out. Nancy. I can't remember her last name, but yeah, I think we got the whole country covered, and Italy.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
if you,
Okay.
Wow.
Salerno, he's in group 2. He's in Italy. We had someone in South America, but I think he. So, anyways,
Yeah.
thanks, you guys. If you need anything, please email me.
Okay.
We're in this together.
Well, we have a great group.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Been so impressed with all the groups, and thank you guys for being so supportive of, and I appreciate that information. Have you guys been able to connect with this Elizabeth Williams at all?
No, never heard one thing from her.
I imagine you guys have tried to email.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I haven't heard a peep, and you know, I think the withdrawal date has passed already.
Oh, wow.
So I think that was October 3rd. So I was actually going to give her a call, but I just noticed that you know, I haven't seen her on the boards or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the same with you guys, that
Right.
because I know you included her in all the emails or all the links and.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. It's been great. who'd like to offer us a closing prayer to end this terrific meeting?
I will do it if you'd like.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Our Heavenly Father, indeed grateful to be able to meet together as a group and as BYUI students online. We're grateful for this inspired program and the technology that allows us to become educated and follow the admonishments of thee. And we're grateful for Brother Castillo, all he does in his responsiveness and caring. We appreciate him and pray that would bless us, that we'll be able to move forward, be able to keep our assignments going, and be able to comprehend those things that we learn and to apply them and become better disciples. And these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks to everyone. You guys are awesome. Making me feel young. Looking forward to these meetings. So, yeah, if you need anything, please drop me a line, send me a message. So, thank you guys. Have a great
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Yep.